Female officer 43 faces prison and end of her career after her lies that Sergeant Lover, 35, was gaslighting her in a controlling relationship and saw him locked up for 2 months. Now, this is to reinforce to you guys how women view men. Not some, all of them. This woman, who's not a young woman either, she's middle aged, so you can't blame youth. She used her position to pervert justice and get a man in jail, a former lover, just simply because she was angry with him. There's no integrity to women and there's no principles. She threw out the principles of upholding the law just to get at a man. And this is why I don't really trust women in positions of authority anymore. Now, her name is Amanda Ashton, and she was a constable, and she was trained in domestic violence, so she knows exactly how to use the system. She was found guilty by jury of 2 offenses of perverting the course of justice and 1 of fraud. Exactly. The 43-year-old said it was embellished and exaggerated difficulties in a relationship with Taylor, Matthew Taylor, that's her lover, knowing the serious repercussions for him better than anyone else. Exactly. It's never just a moment of, what do you call it, passion. This is always thought out and meticulous. Not only was he arrested and charged with controlling coercive behavior, but he was also remanded to jail for 2 months and eventually lost his job, Surrey Police. Now, 2 things. One, they don't mention that he was reinstated. So once it shows you just how corrupt the system is against men. By rights, he should have been reinstated and a big, massive apology. But I guess the damage is always just permanent, right? Also, coercive behavior, even though it exists, is really what women do to men. And it's always, on a legal matter, used against men. It's only used to attack men with, right? Now, this is the thing. It was only detective work by his mother trawling through social media accounts and phone messages that led to his release, where he had spent 23 hours a day locked up. Yeah, his mommy had to come to his rescue. And this is another thing. All you guys, we can't just leave things in this position where we got to hope some woman happens to like us well enough to help us out. This is why men have to work together to change not only the legal system, but change how people behave towards men. Now, his mother had to come to his rescue. If she wasn't around, he'd still be behind bars. And there's our hero, right? Right? And this is how badly she wanted to get him. At the start of the trial, she made false allegations of his control abuse, harassment, stalking, intimidation, gaslighting in a witness statement that ran a staggering 57 pages. So she didn't just tell a lie. She was just lying and lying and lying. As a part of the criminal investigation into Mr. Taylor, the divorcee also gave a video recorded interview and completed what is known as domestic abuse stalking and harassment questionnaire, designed to ascertain what level of risk he was in, of course. And of course, this is more lying and lyings. Her claims included that Sargent, also based at the time, would grab her around her throat during sex and had left her tortured and traumatized. Now, we know that this was probably true in so much that she was in the rough sex and wanted him to do that. And this is what the girls do too. They use your intimacy with them against you, right? There's no holds barred. There's no rules. There's no, this is going too far. They go all the way. I want you guys to understand that when you get intimate with a woman, there's no promises. There's no there's no consideration of your humanity. And recently in a video, Mr. Pink and Yellow, you know, reinforced this knowledge that we have that misogyny doesn't really exist. That, men don't hate women. They worship them. Because take a look at this. Mr. Taylor, 35, told the court, although he could be obnoxious and patronizing, and after his arrest had breached his bail conditions by continuing to see Ashton. So this guy's his own worst enemy, right? He's turning around and saying, well, she did me wrong, but you know what I'm like. Men do this all the time. The men love women, and he was actually willing to put himself in danger to see a woman who hates his guts. So misogyny does not exist. It doesn't exist. And this is annoying too. The Mr. Justice Kavanaugh warned Ashton that she faces a jail term. I have to say that that these are serious matters, and a custodial sentence is a real likelihood. What do you mean a real likelihood? It should be automatic. Again, this is why we need an MRM, and for us guys to change the legal system. This should be automatic. This woman committed a crime. She's a criminal. And look at this. Ashton herself had referred to him, Taylor, her complaint, as the star of the force, and said he had been marked as a future of Surrey police. So she was bragging this guy up that she's now tearing him down, right? So all these, if you've got some woman who says I love you and you're the best thing ever, that doesn't mean anything in the future. It means nothing. Okay. And this is something that men get zapped for. Guys who are supposedly in positions of authority and therefore shouldn't be sleeping around with people underneath them. But that is that's projection, because this woman was ahead of him, and look what she did. She knew, as a domestic abuse mentor, what those lies would lead to and what it mean for Taylor. In a role as a police officer and a role as domestic abuse mentor, you can see why her comments are all the more damaging. She knew they would lead to his arrest and be charged with a criminal offense. Exactly. So, so this is projection. And this is how much scheming this woman did. When this guy was arrested, it said the condition of the bail was not to contact Ashton, but she actively and enthusiastically encouraged and controlled him to do so, only to then report him to the repeated breaches, claiming he would not leave her alone. Wow, that's truly disgusting. Like, I thought you had a job to do. I thought you had a full plate. But the only thing she put her work into was getting her former lover thrown behind bars. Look at it down here. She told him she didn't want this prosecution, which is a lie. It was out of her hands. She loved him and couldn't live without him. Meanwhile, she was telling the police he had contacted her and turned up at various locations unwanted. Sadly, disgustingly, the truth was that she was encouraging him to meet her, arranging the dates with him, and giving him the addresses of her new homes. Wow. She was upsetting this innocent man up just because she didn't like him anymore. Oh my God. But he luckily gave his account to his mother, and she strolled through them and found out what was going on. Notice the justice system didn't do any of this. Why? Because the so-called justice system is geared to throwing innocent men behind bars. That's what it's for. It's an unjustice system. But I want to say also that I don't really feel that sorry for this guy as an individual because it says a lot about relationships between men and women too. They then Sergeant Taylor had only been married a few months. He was a married man, right? When he became involved with Ashton, he left his wife 3 days after Christmas and had moved in with Ashton. So this Taylor guy, he married some woman he didn't really love. Men just want that woman around. And when he thought he got a better deal, he dumped her. This is what marriage actually means to men, right? And it shows this Ashton woman must have shown him a great time because she's older than him. She's middle-aged, right? That wall everyone talks about didn't fit for her, right? It didn't do anything against her. And he was willing to dump her. So it's like, for this reason, I don't care if this guy ever got reinstated. Actually, I don't want this kind of guy a part of the police force. This is the kind of guy who would be chomping at the bit to throw other innocent men behind bars, right? So looks good on him, to be honest. Now I'm going to end off with this incredible statement after his mommy came to his rescue. Criminal offenses committed by our officers and staff simply cannot be condoned. Allegations against any of our officers or staff are always subject to a thorough investigation by our professional standards. Well, pal, your professional standards are garbage because your standard was not to look at the evidence at all because you wanted this innocent man jailed. And his mother had to do your footwork for you and demand that you actually bring justice. Holy cow. The whole legal system should be too ashamed to show its face. Anyway, so there's our hero, and we will end it here, everyone.